The first shot of the Texas Revolution was fired at the little town of Gonzales on October 2, 1835. The Mexican government had ordered the town to return a small cannon they had previously loaned them for defense against Native Americans. Tensions were rising across Texas, and officials worried that the settlers might use the cannon in an uprising. But the people refused. To make their message clear, Sarah Seeley DeWitt and her daughter used fabric from a wedding dress to create a white flag. On it, they painted a simple black cannon with the words, "Come and take it." When Mexican troops approached the town, Texian defenders loaded their cannon with anything they could find. They didn't have real cannonballs, so they packed it full of scrap metal, nails, hinges, chains, and other sharp iron pieces. The resulting fight was small. In fact, the only Texian injury was a man who fell off his own horse. But the meaning of the battle was far larger than the size of the skirmish. The Texians had refused a Mexican order and fired the first shots of open rebellion. Around the same time, Stephen F. Austin returned to Texas after more than a year detained in Mexico City. Arriving just weeks before Gonzales, he saw the rising unrest and realized peaceful negotiation was no longer possible. With morale high and Mexico's authority slipping, Austin led several hundred Texian volunteers on a march towards San Antonio. It was the most important Mexican stronghold in Texas and was commanded by General Martín Perfecto de Cos. They hoped to force Cos to surrender and end the conflict quickly. The Texians reached the outskirts of San Antonio in late October and surrounded the city, beginning what became known as the Siege of San Antonio. But this siege was unusual. The Texians had no heavy artillery, no clear command structure, and limited supplies. Their army was made up of volunteers who came and went constantly. Their goal was to cut supplies entering the city and force Cos's army into surrender. Leadership disagreements were common throughout the siege. Stephen F. Austin, who had just helped organize the early Texian forces, soon left for the United States to seek support for the rebellion. After his departure, command shifted to Edward Burleson, a cautious leader, while men like James Bowie argued for more aggressive attacks on the city. On November 26th, scouts spotted a convoy of Mexican donkeys, known as a mule train, approaching San Antonio. The Texians believed it carried silver to pay Cos's soldiers. James Bowie led a force to intercept it. After a brief fight, the Texians captured the mules, but when they opened the bags strapped to the animals, they discovered only grass. The supplies were intended as feed for the Mexican cavalry horses. The battle became known as the Grass Fight and helped bolster Texian confidence. By early December, the siege was stalling. Winter was coming, supplies were dwindling, and many volunteers were ready to give up. Some had already headed home. When Benjamin Milam stepped forward and asked a question that would change the course of the battle. Who will go with old Ben Milam into Bejar? Hundreds of Texians responded. On December 5th, the Texians attacked San Antonio house by house. The fighting was close, fierce, and dangerous. Milam led from the front, but was killed by a sniper early in the battle. Even so, the Texians pressed forward, using rifles from doorways, windows, and behind walls. After 4 days of intense urban fighting, they pushed deep into the city and cornered Cos inside an old Spanish mission called the Alamo. On December 9th, 1835, General Cos surrendered San Antonio to the Texian army. His soldiers were permitted to withdraw peacefully. For a moment, the Texians believed the conflict might be ending. They now controlled San Antonio and the old mission inside it known as the Alamo. Spirits were high, and many hoped Mexico would simply back down. They didn't know that Santa Anna was already marching north.